Yeah, with regard to the issue of states and boundaries, as I said, is a political issue, require a political decision within a second a minute that can be resolved. It's not scientific. So I think most of the arguments are all within the same line. That is a political issue, require a political decision among the parties that are signatories to the agreement. So they need to reach consensus on political solution to that, rather than they using it as a tactics to derail presence of peace and stability in the country. So that's, for me, I'm off after that particular issue, because political issue requires political solution. In a minute can be done. Let me come to the question of other questions that are raised, other concerns. The biggest problem we have with our politicians is that our politicians have no political attitudes towards being servants of the citizens. Most of the things they're doing is that they don't take into account what the citizens look like. And here I mean every politician. Because the question normally I use is that among these political names that we have in front of us, who is new among them? Apart from recycling themselves, from being yellow today, next tomorrow is red, but Bokra blue, next tomorrow is dark. Who among them is new? These are the same politicians that we know them in our history. For me, since when I was young, these are the same names. And the same names are frustrating me, getting old, and soon my kids also will get them. And if I sit on the table with my kids, I use the same names, and my kids will build on the same names. So can the same names not change their attitudes and give chance for the stability? And the shameful position is that these are the things, but then we're challenging Khartoum. We say Khartoum is marginalizing us, is oppressing us. We are second-class citizens, we are not first-class citizens. It's the same elites doing that, what is happening in Khartoum. So for me, it's every politician have to take time and review his own aspiration as a politician with regard to stability of South Sudan. So for me, whatever you go for numbers does not matter if political attitudes remain the same. Even if you bring it one particular region, still if these political attitudes continue, it will not help us. So it's a question of political attitude change and behaviors to make South Sudan be the South Sudan we want, not South Sudan that political elites want. That's one thing that I'd like to put forward. So whether the numbers are 10, 15, 32, 3, or how many, as long as the political attitudes remain the same, there's nothing that will make us not come again back to the studio and shout. So that's what I like to say. Our political elites need to change their attitudes and behaviors so that they can give chance for citizens to feel that we own the nation, so they don't own. And it's a liberation cast that we're suffering from. Always liberation cast. People who liberated that, they will say, we liberated you. They will not believe that you contribute to the liberation. So that particular political attitude needs to be changed. And there are those who say, because you say you have liberated us also, let's have the chance to sit on the seat. Why don't you sit on the seat long? So these are political ambitions that are too much among politicians. And specifically, when you have political parties without vision of what they say they are campaigning for to be. Most of our political parties are today, you cross-examine. Some of them just are doing copy and paste of manifestos. But when you ask the political ideology and rationale behind those manifestos, some of them is very hard to explain. I've tested recently some of them, asking them about their own manifestos and challenging them about their own manifestos. Their reasoning is not in line with what is in the manifesto. I say, look here, this is a culture of copy and paste. And this technology of computer, this day have helped us that you download manifesto of maybe Guatemala political party and just change them to a South Sudanese political party. And you don't know the reason, the rationale behind that Guatemala political party. And if you do research, I did the research. I realized some manifestos are manifestos of other political parties. They just change the name. They are very lazy. And also, the nature of our political elites, the type of the education that have undergone before previous argument of political. The world is changing. Degrees of 60s cannot be equivalent to the degrees of today, my friend. The level of education have expanded. The scope have expanded. So these are some of the things that we need to change really the practices and the reasoning that we have. We have to accept the reality about the world of today. The UN Security Council, my fear is the UN Security Council have expressed disappointment. US, as a pen holder of South Sudan, the Security Council have expressed its disappointment. IGAD have expressed that disappointment. AU have expressed that disappointment. We have expanded. And you have heard of what Honorable Minister of Information was saying, that he has been seeing double standards. Some say, if you form the government minus X, we will not acknowledge this government. You say, okay, now let's go and extend this. So for me, what is required from the parties to the agreement in order to provide a good response to the Security Council call? One, the 100 days must meet its expectations. They must meet the expectation of the 100 days. What are their expectations? Unified army are in place. They are trained. They are redeployed. The issue of the states, they have reached political consensus. It's not that they have reached political solution. They have reached political consensus. If they all agree that this is what we want to go, the international community, everybody will accept political consensus on the issue of the number of states. They incorporated agreement into the constitution and then the enactment of the 5 security laws, and then minimize some of these incidents that you have mentioned, harassment. Some of these harassments are not state policy. It is just we have soldiers who are in uniform with a different understanding. Even without directives, they want to harass. So the question of journalists being denied access to information, If you can beat journalists with a stick over, is it a state policy? This is not a state policy. So we need to start disciplining people in uniform to commit themselves to democratic standards, which are in our laws. And by the way, let me tell you, South Sudan have one of the best. South Sudan is one of the countries with the best laws. But the education about those laws, implementation of those laws are the problem. And actually, we are punishing ourselves on our own laws that we have agreed upon that this is how we want South Sudan to be. But unfortunately, we don't adhere to them. So these incidents, if they continue, being it humanitarian, being the question of civic space against journalists or activists, and if it's still political decisions are dragging us and we are not meeting the expectation of the 100 days, their chances for the following is very high. Targeted sanctions are very high. Our isolation is very high. And this time is going to be a bit bitter. And we have already seen the resolution that we have quoted. All those resolutions, if you see, they all are engulfing towards the concept of imposed targeted sanctions or imposed comprehensive sanctions. Of course, we have not yet gone for comprehensive sanction. It's what Sudan is suffering from now. Sudan is suffering from UN Security Council comprehensive sanction or other member states of the International Community comprehensive sanction. We have not yet gone for comprehensive sanction. All the sanctions going is a targeted sanctions. But when you go to the comprehensive, where the civilians now will suffer. And then if that comes, our SSP may not carry its value. It may take us to where you need to use foreign currency and foreign currency will be denied for you, a country not to use that. So I think for me, the 100 days is the last option for our political parties if they want to move smoothly in the peace implementation without subjecting the citizen to suffer. But any extension from the 100 days is a risk. So all these positions on the Security Council of IGAD, of US, or whoever, these are all posting a challenge that commit yourself to the expectation of the 100 days. You don't accomplish them, we'll have other options. And the option is a hammer. The option is not a broom or the option is not a sponge. The option is going to be a hammer. So we have become like a nail. And you know when carpenters are nailing a nail, sometimes when they nail with aggression, you know how sometimes a nail bend. And that means the citizens suffer. So we need to avoid that. The only thing right now, as civil society, we are reaching out to our leaders. Please, let's commit ourselves to 100 days. And the 100 days should be a collective responsibility also. This one thing I like to tell the citizens is that as citizens, let's not only leave the 100 days for the politicians. Let it be a collective responsibility of us as Sudanese. Let's aid the parties to make sure they are working on the 100 days. What do we need? On the agreement, disseminate the agreement, and also create a space of where the political actors will find themselves no excuse. What are they, for example? Issues of if cantonments are established, civilians don't go to be registered at the cantonment site as soldiers. Why? It's part of their responsibility to allow, let them register themselves. If they lie, let them prove their lie. Because the lies have come to an end. So otherwise, my final message is this agreement will never be delivered if we don't avail the following. From political leaders, the will to implement the agreement. Timely and adequate release of money. And let the money go to the right hands. And if the money reaches the right hands, should be used properly in a transparent way. Don't buy laptops for your family members on the expense of public treasury for peace implementation. Don't buy V8s. Quit hotels, reduce the numbers in hotels, and stop this every weekend party in hotels in the expense of the peace. Stop those ones, those extravagant expenditures, stop them. From us civil society, from us the citizens, let's talk about the agreement, let's own it, and let's push the parties to implement it per the spirit. That's my message.
Thank you very much, Edmond Yakani, the Executive Director of Community Empowerment for Progress Organization. And special thanks also to whoever has been listening to this program, Peace Forum, right from the start until now, and also to all the callers who managed to make it through. Thank you very much for the dedication and time you have given us. I've been Kale Julius Dada, your host of today. You can catch up next week, Saturday, that is from 8 to 10 a.m.
Radio Bekita.